Hi, I'm Jacqueline Rinksmeyer, Executive Director of the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
And I'm Jared Fry, General Manager and Public Information Officer for the City of Medina and Medina TV.
One of the core values of the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce is business advocacy. We've been proud to partner with Medina TV on this voter education series for well over 10 years now. We're grateful to our interviewer and General Manager of Medina TV, Jared Fry, and our producer, Matt Tomick.
We're grateful for all the candidates that took part in the Candidates Forum, but we also want to stress that the opinions of those candidates are not those necessarily of Medina TV or the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
All candidates and contested races were invited to participate in this voter education program.
We want all voters to be informed to the best of the ability as they head to the ballot this November, so sit back and relax and enjoy our Candidates Forum.
We encourage you to make a plan to vote this November.
Joining us in studio now is the candidate for the Ohio Senate, the 22nd District. I'm joined by Kathy Salem. Kathy, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. This is a real pleasure. I'm very excited about doing this.
Well, great. Glad to have you here. And first, why don't you start for the people at home that may not know much about you? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've always been a trailblazer when I was very young. And my mother's famous sentence was always, couldn't you just be average, you know? So I was a trailblazer by being one of the first women to sell outside sales at the Cleveland Plain Dealer. I was a lobbyist in Washington, D.C. when I didn't realize there were hardly any lobbyists. I've been the Volunteer of the Year for the Akron Jewish Community Center. I raised $3.5 million for them. And I developed in 35 years ago life skills class for Decker Family Development in Barberton, and I'm a Chinese brush painter and I own my own recording label.
Wow, tackle a lot there, don't you?
Yeah.
Very busy.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the role of a senator in the 22nd District.
The role of a senator, well, I have a very, very large district, and I have spent the last 6 months learning what is really needed in those areas. And a couple things that are needed is the health care for the underserved. It's a large rural community. Now, if you can get to the major city in each one of these counties, and I have the entire counties of Medina, Ashland, and Richland, you can get health care. However, it'll take you 35 minutes to get there, and you better be sick between the hours of 9 and 4, and so forth. There is an ER, very small ER area there, and they're represented by very good hospitals. I mean, UH, Ohio Health, and so forth are there, but it's the underserved that I'm looking at, very much so. So that's one of the things. And the other thing that is, as I drive around the Richland and Ashland counties, is the loss of a population and jobs. And there is a great labor force there, and I'm looking to think of what can we bring in there. Like I just read that the nuclear plant at Three Rivers, Microsoft bought to buy their own electricity from. And there has to be these kinds of services that are underused that I want to investigate and do detail. I have I've become very good friends with the Teamsters and the Carpenters Union and the electric and the steelworkers, and I work with them. I'm a very pro-union person, and we need to have these laborers protected, and the only way they can be protected is by supporting their unions. Mm-hmm. So those are my three things that I really will work with, besides the fact I'm a great proponent in women's reproductive rights. I met a very famous obstetrician gynecologist, only specialized in very difficult pregnancies, and he changed my whole philosophy. It's not about choice, it's about need. No one wants an abortion. You need an abortion. And if they start taking your basic needs away from you, meaning you as the universe, they'll move to another need and another need. So those are the things that I'm fighting for.
Now, you touched on something unique, that this does cover a large area in terms of Richland County, Medina County, and Ashland County. Mm-hmm. How would you work the balance of all those constituents, because as you just mentioned in your answer there, that each one has different needs. How do you handle, if elected, that balance between all three to serve them as best you could?
I would have to have a representative living in each one of these counties and have that person available for 9 to 5 days, certain days of the week, to take care of the communication with the Chamber of Commerce, take care of the hospital situation. My idea for outreach clinics is small independent clinics and a mobile unit to drive around. And I've talked to a woman that does that in Richland County, and she says, wonderful, somebody cuts their finger at 4 o'clock and he's a farmer. He doesn't have 2 or 3 hours off of his schedule to go get his finger stitched. I can be there in 20 minutes, she says, and she stitches it up, he wraps it up, and he goes back to work doing his farming situation. And I want to think of those things. And I would need to have a representative in each one of those counties that is available and will, speak out, go to the chamber meetings, find out about the industry there, and do a lot of research. I have a history degree from Case Western Reserve. Again, I was a trailblazer. I quit my job at the Plain Dealer and got a full scholarship to finish my history degree at Case. And so I got a history and business degree at Case.
Oh, wow. So before we delve into the topics a little more, what made you actually decide to run for Senate?
I didn't really actually decide. I was really drafted by the Democratic Party. They sent me an email, would you consider running for a political position? We were thinking, dog catcher, or something like that. And they interviewed me, and then this young man called me and said, state senator. I had no idea actually what that meant. And it was just before Christmas, and he had like 2 weeks to get the ballot signed, the petition. And my kids and I talked to him. I said, Mother, you'd be very good at it. And I am good. I did sales my whole life. I've lobbied in Washington. I've worked with government. I've worked with newspapers, TVs, the recording labels. So I am good. So I said yes, and we are underserved because I have no idea at that point who my state senator was or what she were doing for my community at all. And I would like to make sure people know who I am out there.
Now, you had mentioned some of the topics that you're passionate about earlier. Now, one of the other ones that has been fairly passionate here in Medina County are school funding. And right now, as we head to the ballot in November, there are 3 different school districts heading to the ballot looking for funding. What do you think about the current situation and your thoughts on school funding? School
funding, without funding our children, they are the next generation that will take care of us. We will lose our position in the world as one of the best countries. And so we have to provide good education. And it's an investment in our children. If we choose not to vote for these levies, we are not investing in our children. And we must provide the best education that is available. And I'm very much into skilled labor. And, some of these schools have lost their shop classes, have lost their home ec classes, have lost their, because of funding, they cut those situations. Not everyone wants to or can go to college, and not everyone who graduates from college really has a job. But if you're a skilled laborer, a plumber, a carpenter, electrician, as I say, I've become very good friends with the presidents of these unions, and you have a job the day you apprentice the whole time for 4 years, but you're working and making money the whole time learning your job. You go to college for 4 years. I mean, sometimes you have internships, but not always. You don't even have a job, but if you are skilled labor, you have a job the whole time you're learning and guaranteed a job when you're done. And I'm very much into that. And that's a big education situation, very big. We have lost the purpose, excuse me, of skilled labor.
Now, another topic that has come up recently has been just affordable housing. And I mean affordable housing for just, as you mentioned, maybe students just getting out of college, people that have just gotten married. What do you see as a way, or your thoughts on maybe trying to fix that issue?
Boy, up until about 3 weeks ago, because I live in, I'm not a politician, so I didn't realize what the housing situation was. And I love National Public Radio because you drive around a lot when you have a big territory like this. And they were talking about affordable housing. So I go down to Mansfield and okay, tell me about affordable. He said, we have none. And it's hard to keep any kind of labor here because there is no affordable housing. There's no housing. It's not a matter whether there's affordable or not. There is no housing for the labor market any longer there. And what do I find? I think that the companies who want to attract labor need to be more involved in where this labor source is going to live. And the city has to work with them. Now, do I have a real good answer for that? No, because just till 3 weeks ago, I didn't even know about it. But I certainly will work with it. Housing, I'm thinking there's some kind of an apartment. There is no housing. There is no apartments. There's no rentals. Plus or minus affordable. So why would someone come to work in Mansfield or Ashland? There's no place to live. And now I just heard that in Medina, there's no, what we would call affordable places to live for the working class person, which is, without them, we're in trouble. Without the plumber, without the carpenter, without that labor person to put your chair together, we're in trouble. We're back to China, and our people aren't working for sure. So, yes, I would work very hard to find some. There is some really good research out there. I have the name of the places, and I would work very hard to make affordable housing.
So you brought up something in some of your answer I want to follow up on, and that's kind of the business. You have small business, you have large industries in these 3 counties. What importance or vision do you have that you would like to see done to help small business and to help businesses in these counties?
Well, small business really depends on whether there's a big business there, because believe it or not, whether you like it, it's a trickle-down effect. So Intel comes in, and my goodness, the spread of small businesses, of housing, of everything has made such a difference in that community. So I would start attracting like this power situation for Three Rivers, Microsoft's buying it. I would work on those kind of situations, and then the small businesses will need the community help. And I would work very hard to find out what they need, what would be best for them, what are their priorities, how can I make the roads better, the parking better, access better, and so forth for small businesses.
Now, you had mentioned having your representatives in different locations around the county to help you, keep you informed. If elected and you head down to the state, you're going to be distanced a little bit from your constituents at home. How do you handle that balance when you're down at the state and dealing with state issues that they all bring to your attention, as well as maintaining that communication with your constituents back home?
Well, thank God for the electronic world. I think it was much difficult 20 years ago. Most of my meetings are Zoom. Most of them are, all of everything here was all through electronic communication. And I would have to count on having a very good person that works in these 3 counties and communicate with them. And then if I'm needed, I'll be here. But essentially, I need to have a very good person working in each one of my counties and working and keeping me updated. And then I will be able to work in Columbus for those needs.
What is something that you're most proud of that you feel you'll bring to this office if elected?
Well, thank you. Mostly, I get what I want in a very peaceful manner. I had a very big executive for AT&T 40 years ago said I had more aplomb than anybody he knew. And I was married to an executive who wrote my application letter for case, and he said I had charisma and I could sell ice cubes to Eskimos. And so if I decide that this is what I think is the best thing to do, I pretty much have always gotten what I wanted when I walked in. In Washington, D.C., I worked for this very small boutique lobbyist firm, I mean, really small. $80,000, you know, at Russ Kankowski's office was pocket change. I got my $80,000, you know. So I'm really good at getting what I want. And people meet me and think they've known me their whole life. So those are my biggest assets.
Oh, great. And of course, now we'll go to the flip side of that. What is something you think, and I'll kind of leave it two ways for you, maybe something you would like to improve on or something you would like to improve in the office if elected?
Something I would like to improve on is more voters voting. If we don't vote, we're going to lose our democracy. I just made a commercial for the radio station down in Mansfield that vote. I don't want to know your party. You vote for the person you think's the best, but you vote. I prefer you vote for me, but vote and get out there and get your friends out there. And the other biggest problem is voter intimidation. I have been someone have tried to intimidate me and threaten me twice as a candidate, and it's a terrible situation. And I wish that we could all be civil to one another. That's my biggest problem right now. I work fairs and parades and so forth, and the biggest problem is people are afraid to say they're a Democrat. Afraid.
Yeah. And it's a shame that society has become that way as far as making it difficult for people to step up and run for an office, regardless of what office it is. I appreciate you taking the time to do that yourself, but I guess what gave you that passion that made you decide to actually go forward and run for the Senate seat? Boy,
that's a good question. First of all, I never say yes to anything that I don't already have this great passion for, and I put everything I have, all the hours, all the time, even some of my own money, because who has time to campaign? I didn't start this campaign until February 22nd, and I've had no campaign manager or any help, just friends and relatives, and hard work on the streets, boots on the ground. And what made me think, mostly what I just said, we need to get people to vote to save our democracy. And we cannot be a one-party nation. We need to be a two-party nation, and we need to feel safe that we are a two-party nation. And I'm not easily intimidated.
That's good.
No, I'm not, probably not intimidated at all.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty strong-willed, so I said okay. But I had no idea what I was getting into.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for being part of the democracy and putting yourself out there and running for office. And I appreciate you taking time to answer the questions I have. But I want to give you a moment to turn the microphone over to you and just let you speak directly to the voters and tell them anything I might have forgotten or anything you want to let them know.
I think you've done a really, really good job. And as I said in the interview, please vote. Please vote for me. I always start my speeches with, there's no advantage to being short, but there is advantage to working very hard, and I will work very hard for you and represent you in my district. And I thank you very much for your time, but go vote and save democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. And once again, that's Kathy Salem, candidate for Ohio Senate, the 22nd District. Make sure you go out to, as she mentioned, go out and vote this November. And Kathy, I want to wish you the best of luck this November.
Thank you.